Hi, I'm Vera DREW, and I'm the writer, director, and star of The People's Joker. I'm so excited that we were able to bring The People's Joker to Taiwan, and I just want to thank the Taiwan Women Film Association and Women Make Waves for making it possible. I'm so bummed that I wasn't able to make it, but they sent along some questions instead of a Q&A, and hopefully someday I can make it out there and maybe screen the movie again if y'all liked it. So, no, actually, it didn't start as a Joker parody in the beginning. At first, it was just an autobiographical movie kind of just about my life and about those experiences of working in comedy as an editor and director and actor and comedian. And the original idea was like a horror movie, like a kind of David Cronenberg style body horror comedy about a drag queen who was physically addicted to irony. And it would kind of be like irony itself was consuming her body, and she also needed it to like survive. Never got really far in it, but the idea for it to be a Joker parody sort of came together when I started working with my co-writer, Brie LaRose, who wrote the movie with me. Todd Phillips was the original writer of Joker 2019, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. He was in the press and kind of just complaining about how people weren't really making comedy anymore because we live in the time where things are too sensitive, and it was kind of annoying for me to hear that, just because like I kind of agree. Like, we live in a reactionary time. People argue a lot on the internet about what's appropriate. But this idea that somehow we live, in a more accepting time where queer people can exist and express themselves, the fact that somebody like him, who's in a position of power and had just made a movie that made $1 billion across the world, felt like he was being silenced because of marginalized voices, just felt very kind of ridiculous and ironic to me. So that was like the original idea came from, was just like, I want to make kind of a rude, offensive Joker movie that is about being trans and could kind of show that like this, woke culture, cancel culture argument that so many straight white men are making these days just isn't, there's no validity to it. I think queer people have always, been the ones that have really made like countercultural art that pushes sensibilities, and to me there was something just really interesting about making a Batman parody that was very overtly a queer film and a queer coming-of-age film. And the idea of mythologizing my own life and kind of telling this sort of coming-of-age story, this sort of, that is very autobiographical, but telling it with these like iconic characters, just seemed like an exciting thing to do, because I'd never seen it before. And I always loved Batman growing up. I was really obsessed with Batman growing up. Like, I loved reading the comics. I loved the movies, especially Batman Forever was my favorite. And, when I saw Batman Forever as a kid, like, there was something about seeing Nicole Kidman in that movie that kind of helped me realize that I was a trans woman. And, we ended up kind of putting a scene that is sort of like that in The People's Joker for that reason. So yeah, when that idea kind of clicked, I just realized it was just like this story that I needed to tell, and I kind of just always needed to tell. So we went for it. So I actually announced that I was making this on Twitter, and that was sort of how I was able to get so many people involved. I just kind of put it out there and said, like, I'm making this like queer coming of age Batman parody, and if any artists or filmmakers or actors wanted to help me, like, let's do it. And I wasn't really expecting that many people to respond. I really just thought it was going to be like, a couple people, because I had worked on a lot of cool stuff that had gotten me a lot of visibility, but anytime I had made something that was just my own and was just my own voice, I was pretty niche and pretty like on the outside. So I kind of thought this was going to be something like that. But I got just hundreds of people that wanted to come aboard, and it was a lot of different animators, actors, a few lawyers, and when that happened, it was just like, okay, like, I guess like I guess I'm doing this because I have an email inbox full of people that want to help me make my first film. I can't think of any other independent filmmaker that has ever had an opportunity like this. So I put the team together off of that, and it was a very collaborative process because, we had written this script that was very personal. It was very much my life. I knew that the movie was going to always be me. Like, it was going to really, it was going to be me acting in it. It was going to be my story. So it was really kind of easy to put my ego aside and allow the people that I was working with to sort of just like lean into their instincts. And it's why there are so many different styles in the movie. I didn't really micromanage anybody's specific aesthetic. I really allowed people just to lean into the artistic styles that they were best at. It's why, like our exterior set of the amusement park is like a 2D painting that we turned into like a 3D environment, because that's just what the kind of art that artist does. It's been the coolest experience of my life. Like, I couldn't, I don't even know if I know how to answer that question succinctly, because like it feels like a gift from the universe that I got to do this, and to really like find a way to do it too within the structure of parody law and fair use. I worked with a lot of lawyers to figure out a way to do this so that I wouldn't be just like stealing these characters. It would need to be this sort of like parody interpretation. And I don't know, like, I mean, for me personally, it really helped me understand my life. The eras of my life that the movie talks about were very traumatic and confusing for me most of my life. I think the only way I could have really understood them was by making a movie that was colorful and silly and had Batman characters. And now I've gotten a chance to see how much that means to other people too. And people have come out as trans after watching the movie and stuff. And it's beautiful. It's been a beautiful experience, and it means the world to me. Yeah, so I'll talk about it briefly, just because it was kind of a painful experience for me. But Warner Brothers does not like this film. They feel like it infringes on their brand. Again, my lawyers don't agree with that. But after we premiered it at the Toronto International Film Festival, we got a lot of attention because of what Warner Brothers had said about the movie, that they didn't agree that it was a parody. So that was a scary experience, but I used it as an opportunity to sort of get creative. That was where the Free the People's Joker campaign came from. We ended up screening the movie at film festivals for a very long time. We did a lot of secret screenings all over the world. I did a little secret tour in Australia and a few places in the US. And I was holding out that entire time because I wanted a distributor to help me bring it to theaters all around the world. And thankfully that finally happened in July of 2023. Altered Innocence came forward and helped me finish the movie, because the movie wasn't done yet. Like, my festival cut of the film was still incomplete. There were visual effects that needed to be done, and I was able to get finishing funds for that. So yeah, it was a really long journey, but it was the enthusiasm of fans and people that wanted to see the movie that really kept me going and allowed me to have faith that the movie would be able to get out there eventually. The response has been, pretty much every review we got from critics has been universally praised. We've got a very high Rotten Tomatoes score, and that's exciting. I think the movie is a little divisive with some people, especially people who don't particularly like trans people or people who feel very protective of Batman characters. But for the most part, it's really been just this beautiful experience of having a Batman movie out there that finally exists for trans people and queer people to watch, and the fact now that I get to show it all over the world, in addition to the U.S., is really, it means the world to me. I always wanted this to be a movie that would have worldwide distribution, so I'm glad you all were able to watch it, and yeah, thanks so much for this opportunity to answer some of these questions, and I hope you enjoyed the movie, and you can follow me on Twitter if that's possible where you are, Vera DREW 22. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. But yeah, I hope you have a nice day, and thank you again for your support.